we're making a Shamrock Cookie Pop with our Shamrock mini kit, what you'll need is a small cup, a pair of scissors, and a bowl of water with a spoon. Everything you need is inside: 2 frostings, a cookie pop, piping bags with stir sticks, and sprinkles. Let's start by mixing up our white frosting. Use the stir stick to mix your icing evenly. The consistency should be thick and the peaks should bend slightly. If it's more runny, you can add a teaspoon of powdered sugar until it is the correct consistency. Take your piping bag and open it up at the large end and insert your hand, and then insert your hand with the piping bag into the cup and pull down around the edges. Lift up your icing cup above the piping bag and use your stir stick to get all the icing into the piping bag. This will take a couple scoops. Make sure you get all of it in there. Okay, once we finish filling our piping bag, we're gonna pull up out of the cup and pull all the edges back up. Then we're gonna start gently moving all the icing down to the bottom of the bag. It doesn't have to get completely down there, but most of the way. Now we're gonna wrap the top of the bag around 2 fingers and create a hole and push the bag through to tie it off at the top. And now you have a piping bag that won't leak out of the top, and we cut the top off just so the excess won't be touching our cookie. Now for our green icing. This is where it gets a little tricky. We're gonna mix it up again with our stir stick and see how it still has a stiff peak. We don't want that for this one. So what we're gonna do is create a flooding consistency using water. Take a tiny amount of water on your spoon and shake just the smallest drop into your icing and mix it with your stir stick. There's a little learning curve to this, as it really depends on what consistency you start with. So the peaks are still a little bit too peaky. So we're gonna repeat the process one more time. Let's see, we're gonna add a tiny little drop and mix again. You're going to keep repeating this process until it is smooth with a very bendy peak. So this peak is bendy, but it's still not smooth enough down here. So we're gonna repeat the process again, and let's see if we can get our icing smooth on this round. Like I said, it is always going to be different for every single time. It just depends on the icing consistency to start with, and also a lot of people are different. So this looks pretty good. Look how smooth it is down there. That's what we're looking for. Now you're gonna repeat the process of adding your frosting into the bag once you have the consistency you like. Remember when I said everyone is different? Some people might need a little bit more of a runny consistency. I personally like a medium flooding consistency. Part of the art is playing around with it and finding out what you like. Okay, once you have it all tied off and cut, you can remove all of the supplies except for your scissors and sprinkles and clean your area. Now we're gonna start with our flooding first. Notice that there's a flat seam. We want that seam facing up, and we're gonna press down on the edge to flatten it out, and then we're gonna cut near the bottom of the tip. Make sure you don't cut too far up. We're gonna start by frosting an outline. Go to the center of your shamrock and outline a heart shape for the top leaf. Take your time making the outline. Try not to let it break. Mine broke right here, but I just reconnected it. Now we're gonna start flooding this area. You're gonna want a hard grip so that you're outlining again, but making your icing line really thick. If you're having a hard time getting it out thick, recut your tip just a little bit more until you're comfortable. Okay, now without pushing on your bag at all, use the tip to swirl together any gaps and all those really rough bumps. I move in tiny little circles round and round to close it up. I also do little light taps on top of any icing that might be peeking and sticking straight up, and it should push them back down. Now to make it really smooth, we're gonna pick it up and shake it back and forth. Make sure to shake it side to side and not up and down. Now we're gonna make an outline for the second leaf. Make sure when you start your outline off, you start in the middle and you leave a gap so that it is not touching the other leaf that you already made. Otherwise, it'll melt together and there won't be any separation. And we're gonna do the same exact process as the top, and we're going to fill it in with our flooding, make it as smooth as possible with our tip doing the little circles. and then we're going to shake again, and you can shake pretty vigorously. It won't fall off unless you're going up and down. And we're gonna do it again to the third leaf. Okay, now for a few tips on holding your icing bag. You wanna make sure that you're always holding at the top of the bag and not in the middle, or else the frosting will burst out of the piping bag and you'll be out of a piping bag and your frosting will be everywhere. Another tip is that when you're holding your piping bag in your hand, make sure your hand is slanted slightly to the side the entire time and not straight up and down, kind of like when you're holding a pencil. At the end here, I'm just cleaning up any bumps I see by lightly tapping them in with the tip of my piping bag. We're finished with the first layer. Now we wait at least 1 hour before moving on. We're at the last step. We're going to be making the stem, so create an outline going down the stem and wrap it around and back up, and then fill in like we did for our leaves, and get it all nice and smooth. Shake, shake, shake. You can shake vigorously, remember, side to side and not up and down. Tap in those bumps, and now we're ready for the writing. Remember, when cutting, you want the seam up, you push it flat, and then you cut the tip. You want this tip to be smaller than your green frosting tip because it is writing and it's more detailed. And you can always cut the tip larger if you need to. Remember that when you are pushing on the bag, the harder you push, the thicker your lines will be. And a couple tips for writing. Remember, it's like you're holding a pencil with your hand tilted slightly sideways. And you can practice, there's plenty of icing to practice on a piece of paper or a plate, and you can practice your writing first and your spacing before you go and put it on your cookie. To complete this design, we're going to grab our green frosting and add some frosting at one corner of the bottom leaf, and then cut your sprinkles open. Either put them in the palm of your hand or into a cup. Add sprinkles to that wet frosting. Be careful not to get your letters as they are wet, and so is that stem, so careful not to get the stem. And put as many sprinkles as you would like and how you want it to look. And then I am adding green frosting to the marshmallows so that they can stick on top of that sprinkle area that I have. This entire video is set up, so if you're going slower, no worries. Just pause the video and take as much time as you need. And you have officially made the sweetest Lucky Shamrock. We had so much fun frosting cookie pops with you. If you liked this video, like, share, and subscribe. For details and links to our cookie pop kits, check out the description box below.